Good morning. Today is the 4th of March 2024 and I'm going to go through my trading plan today and look at some levels. Before we start, as always, economic news. Today we've got hardly any news, but we do have a Fed speaker at 11 which could be market moving, so something to keep an eye on. And just looking at the weekly on the SPX as well, on go to the weekly. We can see we've got, let's go to the monthly actually, we've got this major trend line going back to 1999 or 2000, so it's a 24-year-old, 23-year-old trend line, and we currently touched it there and we had this big reaction and we come right into it again on Friday. We've had a big, well, are we going to get a big reaction or are we going to break it and push through? So something to be wary of and keeping an eye on that. It's the same chart. It's the same chart as we see on SPY as well. Go into the monthly, and you can see you've got the same trend line, exactly the same place as well. So, you know, I like to think that history likes to repeat itself. We've been up there once, kind of coming into it again. We're pretty extended as well. We're quite far away from the 8 moving average. This is a monthly chart on SPY. We're quite far away from the 20 moving average, far away from the 50 moving average, and very far away from the 200. And obviously we've been trailing the 20 moving average and the 50 moving average. Is more likely we've got a pullback into the 50 at some point. When that's going to happen, I don't know, but just want to be aware of that. Going to the ES, this is the ES chart. We're looking at the hourly time frame, and it's also can use the MES, which is exactly the same. So I've got a decent level, knowing that here on Friday was where SPX hit the 50, the 24, the 23-year-old trend line. So we kind of saw a reaction from that. So that may be the first reaction possibly, or it's Friday and people just want to take profit going into the weekend. So my first level I'm watching for, probably my top level I'm watching for, is this area here, which is 51, I got it 16, 51.16, but 51.15 area. We have a little bit of a hiccup around that area because we've got a bit of a pivot which is a little bit higher. So I've drawn in this green demand zone, because obviously last time it was up there we had this reaction down. So I'm kind of watching this area, 51.20 down to 51.16, for a potential bounce. I really want to stick with the trend, go with the trend as well, and I do quite like it coming into this 50, so that's why I prefer this 51.15 area, 51.16 area, and that pivot from there, which we tested again on Thursday as well, because we've got the 50 moving average in that area as well. That's why I favour that point. However, if we do come down to 51.10, we've got 5100, you know, this has been significant, 5100. We kind of held it there in this region. I'm looking at the region, kind of rejected it there. Same there as well, kind of bounced there. So it's kind of that area. So kind of keep an eye on this area for potential bounce. But if I zoom out onto the 60 or the 1 hour time frame, let's get rid of some trend lines. We don't need that anymore. We don't need this one anymore. That's a nice breakout. We talked about that over last week, and we were watching that, and I capitalised on that. Although my trading wasn't particularly great for that, but I did catch the break and retest of that flag. So, you know, the patterns do work, but I do prefer the levels really. If we can come back down to this trend line, I'll be looking for a potential bounce. You know, we bounced down here, we kind of got close to it there. We bounced again. What's that? 13th or the 14th of Feb, kind of tested it. You can see we tested that trend line there, we broke through it, came back and retested it, we saw a bit of a sell-off, and we came back and retested it again. We've also got the 200 moving over, the hourly 200 moving over under just below it as well, so it adds strength to this trend line as well. So that's kind of the area I'm watching for a bounce here, which is 51.15. I consider this area of confluence down at 50.93 to 5100, this area here for a bounce, and we've got bottoms of candles, kind of tops there, kind of hovered around there, bottoms again, so it was the floor, and it may still become the floor if it gets back down to that area, and it's also on the trend line as well, and that's the reason I like that area. So that's it then, my two main watches. Whether it get down here today, more of a watch for the week really. And then we got this area we held for some time over a period of 3 days, 50, 70, 56, 74 potential bounce. As for breaking all-time highs, Friday put in a new all-time high. I do quite like the break and retest of pre-market high. However, we have got the all-time highs and I've got that as a rejection area, so this might be a scalp or a small position to see whether we can take it over pre-market highs for break and retest long. So kind of two levels here, break and retest of the pre-market high, break and retest of Friday's high, remembering we are getting extended from the 200 and the dailies. Let's go to the daily quickly. And the daily, we've got a bit of room if we are going to honour this trend line or this channel. We could move up to around about 5200, kind of nice round number. Maybe that's where we're heading, because we did hit 5150 or bar 25 cents on Friday. So maybe 5200 is the poke through on that monthly trend line we was looking for, and rejection. Volume wise, we had less volume coming on Friday, so kind of suggests we might have a bit more unfinished business, but we are right down the middle of this channel at the moment with no sign of knowing which way it's going to go up or down. So that's kind of where we are. So kind of play the market. I'll be looking at order flow as well to see whether I can find a bounce. Good thing about the order flow is helping me fine tune my entries, and instead of me putting a stop at a pivot, I can then put my stop where I know where the volume is in that candle. So it kind of fine tunes me. Should hopefully in the future, when I get better at reading order flow, limit my risk as well. So instead of me risking 1 R or a big loss there, I can just limit a quarter of an R or something, because I'll be looking at, basically order flow gives you the X-ray of the candle, and not many people are looking at that, so everyone will be using pivots, but it would be nice if we can just fine tune that. So that's my levels basically. Back to the hourly again, just recap, looking for trend continuation, break and retest pre-market high, potentially into the overhead resistance. There's a little bit of volume over there. If you look at the point of control, we've got a little bit of volume coming up over here as well, so it could also act as a bit of resistance, but there's not much volume compared to what we've got further down. That's it. Bounces, I'm watching that pivot there, and potentially this trend line area. That's my phone, let me just turn the volume down. Okay, let's go on to SPY next. It's very similar levels, almost identical levels really. So SPY, watching 509, I've just marked up 82. There was a reason for that, and what was that? Oh yeah, it's kind of the body of this candle, and it's the top of this candle and near the top, so it's kind of a region. We can watch 509.50 up to 505.10 basically for a rejection, kind of a bounce, sorry. Possibly the 50 moving average will be joining in that area as well by the time we get there. That's hopefully we get down to say, there's no reason why we can't. We moved that far on Friday, and then obviously if we break over pre-market high, we can look for a break and retest long. Bear in mind all-time highs is just at 513.29 above. One thing I wanted to add, actually go back to the MES or the ES again, is if we're going to be waiting for it to come down to 51.15.16 area, then potentially we could look for a break and retest of pre-market low as a scalp. So smaller size, but if we expect it to come down here, then why shouldn't we be going short as well? So keep an eye on that. So that's kind of the area. We've broken down now through this hourly 20 moving average. So potentially pull back up into this area. As long as we stay below the VWAP and below the 8 and the 20, I think we might be looking for a rejection down. And the same obviously with SPY. So get below pre-market low, we can look for a break and retest with a target at the 20. Got to play this area carefully as well, because obviously we've honoured it a few times. We've poked through it here, tested it there, tested it there. We haven't tested it since then, so we may even see a bounce around that area. So 51.11 bounce, and then the major bounce, which I like the most, is 509.82 to 510. And same as ES, if we get down, I haven't got trend lines drawn up here, but we come down into these levels down here. 503 is a major area, pivot, but potentially 504 to 505 is a bounce area as well. Let's just mark that in. Okay, NQ. It's my first time I looked at the NQ chart today, so let's just have a look and see what we've got. I like to just start with the daily. You can see it's in that big powerful uptrend, massive big day on Friday. We're right near the top. Wasn't as much volume as the previous day, so slightly wider candle, but with slightly less volume. Maybe it's showing signs that we are starting to lose some buyers. Yeah, the only place I can see for a bounce is 18,159. That's tops of that candles. Potentially we could come back down to this area as well. This area of confluence, which is at 18,067. We've got bottoms, tops, 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 and tops of candles here. I won't go back any further. I'm not sure we've been up there before anyway. So that's all I'm watching for really. Break and retest. Pre-market high is a little bit higher than Friday's high, so kind of we can get above, a big gap above and pull back down, then we can look for a long. It's got to be a strong move, otherwise watch for bounces. And obviously that bounce area we just talked about is also around this 50 moving average as well. I imagine Qs will be similar. Yeah, identical really. So Qs, if we break over 447 and then pull back, we could watch for a break and retest of this area. Oh, hang on. Break and retest of this area, which is the pre-market high, Friday's high. Really want to see it break out over it and come back, because we've got a big. You can see the volume, the spike of volume around that area as well. So we want to clear it and come back. And you could say we're setting up a bit of a flag pattern as well. It's only pre-market volume, so I wouldn't go take too much into that. If we come back down, a bounce area can be kind of like Friday's low. Area of confidence as well, tops candles, and tops and bottoms of the body there. So look for a bounce around that area at the pivot as well. You can get rid of these. Don't need them now, and that's it really. And obviously we've got this area, this bounce area at 434 if we get down to there, potentially off of this 200 moving average. SPX, we just talked about this monthly level. One thing to note as well, when we were last up at this area, RSI was very, very oversold or overbought, I meant. Coming into this area as well, look at the RSI, and then we come into this area, our RSI is just coming into that zone now. We haven't, so that's why I'm not sure whether we will see an instant rejection or whether we just hover around, still grinding up before we see the rejection down. But it's worth not pointing out the RSIs on these moves. So that is 2021. Obviously we know what that was. That was COVID. This is the 2000.com bust. So potentially, whatever you want to call that, the 2024 great year of failure or something. I don't know. Anyway, hourly wise, I've got my 50/50, still got my alert from last week. If we come back down, but that's further down, so probably Friday's high or Thursday's high, that pivot, and that's 5106, 5100. There you go, nice round number. We know 5100 has been significant because we rejected it there and so it's a round number as well, so kind of watch for a bounce at 5100. Okay, so next is gold. Look at that, it's broken out. We've been watching this every day, we've been talking about this breakout, and I didn't take anything on it really. I wasn't really concentrating on it. So let's have a look, see where we are on the daily. Still a tough one. We've got this big green day last week, Friday. We've got to get over these pivots really to continue the uptrend. But we've got rejection point, we can see that. Potentially this area as well, kind of where we are now. These are the tops of pivots there. Higher risk rejection at 21.15, 21.16. That area there. And the reason I put it at that point, more accurate now, 21.12, 21.13. That top of candle, tops of candles, kind of tops of candles here, bottoms of candles. It's quite a difficult one really, it's quite a messy chart daily. Yeah, we need, if we break down below that pivot, we can look for a break retest short, long, and we've also got the point of control down there as well. So it's, and then there's no real volume, the volume's tailing off at the top. So all I can see for rejection areas, so obviously that pivot there. In fact, this is the only area. Top, 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 and a bit of area where it just hovered around for a few days. Going into the hourly, knowing those levels, we can watch for rejection then at 2010 to 2012. And we can look for a breakout of this flag. We can pull back to yesterday's high, Friday's high, and look for a bounce at 2096, and then pre-market low. If we're coming down there, then potentially, if we come all the way back down to there, potentially we're looking at a head and shoulders pattern. So potentially that could be the neckline, so keep an eye on that, see how it develops. Oil, look at the daily first. I heard news at the weekend that there might be a supply issue or something to do with oil, so maybe that explains why we're getting a bit of a push up. We've broken that pivot now, and potentially we've broken out, we haven't pulled back to retest it, so we can watch for a retest of that pivot. Probably this area of volume 77.50 for a bounce. Target wise, this would be a swing trade. You can watch 87.50, well 90 really, then 92.50 for target. We've kind of, I think I've mentioned this a few times, not last week, a few weeks ago, kind of seeing this accumulation down here. A few tests where it's broken out, a few tests to get out and back in again. We're up in the upper half of this area now as well. We kind of tested both extremes of the box, and we're kind of looking for more volume, so we see more volume on the breakout, break and retest this area. We're a few days away from that. Kind of average volume. All I can see for a rejection, this is area of confluence just here, and that is basically bottoms of candles, tops, 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 bottoms of candles, bottoms of candles, bottoms of candles, and that's 81.18, 81 basically to, yeah, 81 as a rejection. And that's it really. And bounce wise, we can watch this pivot down and the 200 moving average, a bit smaller. This area here for potential breakout, pullback and bounce. So 77.50 for bounce. Let's just mark that as well. Looking at RTY, which is the Russell 2000, back at all-time territory today in pre-market. And it's kind of curving back round, so I quite like the break and retest of this area, and that is 2083 down to 2080 for a bounce. I quite like that area there, and it's also Friday's high area as well. So this area here for bounce 2078 to 2082. Looking strong. Can't really see a reject on this really, unless we're looking at a head, a left shoulder, a head, a right shoulder potentially. You know, there's normally a sign of we're at the top of a trend, and we talked about seeing a potential end of trend on the SPX with the monthly trend line coming right into it. And that's it really. All I can see is a bounce at this point. There's no rejection. Oh no, actually, I thought we were all-time highs. We're not. Let's get this marked out. Let's mark that level. Let's mark that area there, and then and see where we are. We've got a little bit above it, so that gives. Here we go. So we marked off. So we watched for a rejection at 2094, and we're kind of seeing a bounce at 2087. That's the two levels we just marked off. So kind of go. So we've got all-time high is about there, just above it. So 2100 as a rejection, which is a break of all-time high, and it will also be a psychological number. And then last, let's look at YM. Kind of got this big sell-off. Look at that. Friday's high sold right off in the pre-market. We're kind of at this bounce area. So you can watch for a bounce at Friday's low, higher risk because we've big move down. And if we pull back up towards the pre-market high, we can look for a rejection. Only if we don't see it grinding up. You know, if we see some big moves up, like we saw big moves down, and then kind of broken this trend line. Let's draw it in. Come on, just trading view magnet there, and let's just change the template to hourly. So we've kind of broken through that trend now, so we've broken that structure. So potentially we can look for a break and retest of this trend line. So around, probably around 38,950 for a rejection, and that's wherever that trend line takes us, and with confirmation, because we're quite high risk, because we might just poke through and we may just continue this trend line up. So keep an eye on this. We could also look for a bounce in this area because it's just following up this trend, and it's putting in a, let's just clone this one. You can probably clone it there, but what I'm really seeing is kind of this shape. Come on. Oh, whatever, yeah, I just can't. Why can't I select it? Here we go. That kind of shape there, kind of an expanding cone. Yeah, I want to keep an eye on this. The only levels I can see, this is kind of a bounce area where we are now, because it's an area of confluence as well. So let's put that level in there. And what I'm looking at is bottoms of candles over here, tops and bottoms, tops, candles, tops, tops. And then that, you can see that pivot just right over here, just off screen. That one there as well. So kind of an area for a bounce if we're going to come down to 38,863. And that's it. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and then we're done. I'll look at Apple, BTC, use the Coinbase one. Okay, so let's go into interesting. Okay, let's have a look at the daily first. So daily, we've broken out of this flag here, and we've got increase in volume on the breakout, decrease in volume on that flag. Bit annoying because obviously I took profit there, and I'm waiting for a pullback so I can put that back in again. I'm kind of watching this trend line for the pullback. That's fine, you know, you got go with gut instinct, so kind of looking for a pullback along that trend line. Let's go into the hourly, see where we are. But not topping tails in. We've broken that flag it's putting in as well. So let's see how we go today. So let's just go back to the daily with some potential targets. Are we going to get to all-time high? Who knows? Let's just put that one in there. And that target there, that's all-time high up there. We're kind of right in an area of potential where we've got this pivot here, kind of where we are now, this pivot, and the only thing then left is the all-time high. So potentially we could see it poke through and then come back down. But what I'm really looking for is we get back down to this level or this level. That's where I want to add back in what I've taken out at this level here. Not bad though, because I've been averaging in on this run down since March last year. In fact, there every month. So my average price is probably round about here. I can't remember exactly where it is. So I just want to come back and just add to that and just reuse them, basically reuse house money. I've only taken out the profit from that trade, so I'm just looking to put it back in again on the next pullback. Okay, let's just have a look at MESC or ESC, where that was. See if anything's happened in the last few minutes. No, just we sold off a little bit more. So still watching 51.16 for bounce. That's my prime area. Okay, thank you for watching.